Hello, friends. My name is Dustin White, and I am a pastor in Canton, Ohio.
My name is Aleesa. I'm a licensed professional counselor, also in Canton, Ohio.
And we are friends. And Aleesa, why don't you share what we're hoping to do with these conversations?
So we've had some really good conversations just as friends about how we've been managing life through the quarantine, different things that we've kept in mind, different resources we've been in contact with, and things to make this easier on everyone. So we've had some really good conversations, so we thought we'd just start recording them and seeing what people can get out of them. So hopefully you get a little something out of this.
Yeah, and what you're going to find is that each of us are anecdotal in our friendship and the experiences we have, but these conversations really are using the intersection of our different perspectives, both from faith and clinical mental and emotional health, to help us navigate this. We really are walking through something collectively that probably 99.9% of planet Earth has not experienced before currently. And so with that, we thought it'd be really good to maybe explore the idea of these memes and social media that we're inundated with that gives a sense of panic that this is a forever thing. Like we like this is how life will be forever at best. You know, like there's definitely this sense of doom that has collectively set in on us, and that just is reflected in the media, social media conversations. So yeah, what have you been seeing, or what have you been reflecting to your clients?
Well, first off, I don't feel like I was in a really good place even to be processing these things like 2 weeks ago. Now that, in Ohio, we've been quarantined for over 3 weeks now. So I feel like I've started to come to terms with it. So in the beginning, I was kind of waking up like, well, this is my life now. I have a 5-year-old, so I'm like full-time preschool teacher, caretaker, full-time counselor. I have, my full caseload still and everything. So it's just that kind of thought of like, well, this is my life. I haven't driven my car in a week. So, what hope is there to get back to normal? So one of the most important things for me to remember is that, no, this isn't going to last forever. And so there's some proof to that, and how our society is starting to change. So Dustin, have you been watching anything recently where you see on a movie or something, like people are all together at a birthday party and you're like, you're not allowed to be doing that? Or
I remember I watched some movie and someone got onto a crowded elevator, and it took my breath away. I panicked. I didn't know why for a second. I'm like, why is this inducing so much anxiety in me? And then I realized they're not social distancing. They're not social distancing. They're in a crowded elevator. There's more than 10 people. There are all these things. And it became apparent how much of an indelible mark this has already pressed into us in our cultural psyche.
Yeah. Or I was watching The Office and Jim sneezes on Dwight and I was like, that could kill him.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Why is everyone together in a conference room right now?
Yes.
We forget that before this, life was normal. There was a different way of living, aside from 2020, which has been eternal already, even though it's already only April, I should say. So yeah, as a society, we're kind of like, oh my gosh, we're forgetting that line that there was a before to this. And there's also going to be an after, there back with other pandemics and stuff like that, it was the same thing. They couldn't really remember a before. There was little hope for there being an after, but we can watch movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even stuff that came out last year and people weren't social distancing then. So that's kind of some proof that there is hope for after a pandemic.
Yeah, and that's something I've been reminding in my field, the pastoral care, and it's been, remotely and digital and phone calls and Zoom meetings and all those sorts of things. But reminding folks that this is not going to last forever. I want to be transparent that I'm coming at this specifically from a faith perspective, right? And so we have a hope that God will restore all things. We can see that there is that hope that's there, and so we anchor our faith to that. But if we need further validation, as I've been telling folks, listen to the top scientists, the top medical leaders are saying, we
Mhm.
are going to get through this.
Yeah.
We are making advances at record pace. I mean, things that were
Right.
unimaginable even 12 months ago are happening now that are going to lead us into a restoration. And then,
Yeah.
as you indicated, that we see in movies and even news clips, when we look back through history, humanity has endured far worse things, and we made it
Sure.
through. So
Mhm.
you have, again, from my perspective, number one and first and foremost, we have a faith that God has made a promise that we can anchor our hope to, that this will pass.
Yeah.
We
With
have,
all the projections though, like all the
yeah,
science projections, there's always a downward curve. Like there's always an end somewhere. Like
yeah.
nothing's eternal at this point with the coronavirus.
However, I want to bring up a point and ask you this, maybe to reflect on, and if you've had any experience with this. I've also had a temper folks' expectations on the other end of the spectrum, right? We have, May 1st quarantine's done, and we're
Oh,
back
sure.
to normal. We can see the curve; it's flattening, and all this. Can you maybe share? Have you had to have any hard conversations with your clients, and what have those looked like?
Yeah, there's some people that are having just like a really hard time with transitions. I mean, we've gone through huge role changes. People are now stay-at-home moms when they weren't that before. You were now teachers when we weren't that before. We have no training to be doing these things, but we are. So a lot of people are like, oh, May 1st, at least in Ohio, like that's been our light at the end of the tunnel for
Yeah,
so long. And so, just kind of asking, okay, but if that doesn't happen, yeah, it's going to be a disappointment. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but it could happen. So what kind of things can you put in place now to be able to make that less of a blow?
yeah.
And I hope, through these videos, we can give a couple of things that we can put in place now that will be going, extending on for as long as they need to. So,
Yeah, I think one of the things to bring that up that I have found helpful for me, that I would love for us to offer as a practical tool, is to not compare yourself to others and what you're
right.
seeing on social media. I see this meme or I see this post, and that's now the thing I have
What I
to
have
do.
to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Jinx.
and I saw one, and I'm sure many people that are watching this may have seen it. I'm going to read it in context. And it was a meme that came out, or I'm sorry, a post that came out, and it said, if you don't come out of this quarantine with a new skill, your side hustle started, more knowledge, you never lacked time, you lacked discipline.
My thought on that is, okay, if that's something that motivates you and you're in a position to be able to start a side hustle, or like if you're in a position to be able to be practicing a new skill, okay, sure. But not everyone's in the same situation. Some people are trying to corral 3 kids, around their house when they never had to do that before. Other people have completely lost their jobs. They don't know where their money is going to be coming from for the next foreseeable future. I saw something that is kind of like contrasting to that. So it says, we're not all in the same boat. Some of us are in a yacht, some of us have a flotation device, and some of
Yeah,
us are at the mercy of our own strength.
right.
So yeah, sure, those people in a yacht, fine, practice your new skill, practice the piano, whatever it is. But the people who are at the mercy of their own strength, you would never say that to one of them. Or like, people who have gone through wars and stuff like
Yeah.
that, in war
We would,
movies. Yeah,
we
you
would
always
never
see.
talk about, like, where's your side hustle?
Oh,
Like,
for sure, for
what's
sure.
wrong
You
with
wouldn't be
you?
like, hey, these schools have been closed for years because of World War II, so you wouldn't say to a kid, well, did you practice your violin every day? Like,
Yeah,
it's stuff that you wouldn't say to someone who's in a traumatic and a crisis situation.
yeah.
So,
Can
yeah.
you maybe share what the other end of the spectrum is of, what can we be doing to not affix some sort of social media standard that all humanity has to unilaterally come out with a side hustle, but also
Right.
not let ourselves, like, spiral into some unhealthy habits.
So something that helps me is I tend to look at people as if they were a textbook. Okay. We tend to treat textbooks with a certain care, and
Yeah,
respect. Like you never rip a page out of a textbook like you would a notebook or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
So when I look at people, I think, okay, that's their story, that's within their means. That's, them using their resources, tapped or untapped. And I'm my own story. So, if someone says, oh, wow, I just started this like Instagram workout thing. I've already lost 5 pounds since being quarantined. I'm doing amazing. It might be tempting for me to rip that page out of their book and put it into mine. But that's
yeah.
something we would never do because we treat books with such care. So looking at people with textbooks and kind of being able to separate yourself and say, okay, well, that's his story. Okay. And that's okay for him. But, I have my own things to deal with right now, or maybe you're someone who with a flotation device, you don't have the yacht, or maybe you're someone who's at the mercy of your own strength. So that's you in your situation right now. Adopting someone else's goals or someone else's motivations for your own life or means isn't really fair to you when you might not, have the time to be able to do that. And then people are like, oh, well, all you have is time right now. That's not true.
And I think this just underscores what we have been talking about, the danger of comparisons. Because in my
Mhm.
own life, it's always my blooper reel compared to their highlight reel. So comparing ourselves to one another is dangerous, but even comparing our life now to our life before,
Yeah.
it repeats that trauma that
Yeah.
we feel, right? And so again,
Yeah.
the point of this is, and hopefully our takeaway for this video is, one, reminding ourselves that while we don't know how long it will last, we know that it won't last forever.
Yeah.
And two, Aleesa, the idea of the danger of comparisons.
hmm Yeah, for sure. So stay away from that, and hopefully we can give you some more tips as we go along. So, however long this does last, you can kind of put some healthy practices in place to be able to get through it. So thanks for listening.
Thanks. See you all soon.